everybody, and welcome back to the start of Season 3 with Havre AC here in Football Manager 2017. Um, we're not going to get into any games or anything today. I'm going to recap you the preseason, introduce you to the new crowd, and show you who's here. We have had um, a fairly massive summer. So I am hopeful that this new squad is going to be what we need to be. Um, and we'll see. We've had some faces come, we've had some faces go, uh, and we'll see what happens. So, without much ado, on the way out, Stephen Fortes, who was a League Two center back who never really featured in League One. He's not good enough for League One. We've brought in some other options. We sent him on his way. Mergen Berisha, the Kosovoian kid who was playing well for us last year, apparently spazzed, said I broke some promises to him. I had no idea who he was before the 3 or 4 games that he played for us. So I was a little surprised, but he threw a shit fit. So I said, great, we're moving you on. I don't need to deal with it. Thomas Ayasi, his contract was running out, so he snagged a few bucks. He was aging out of where I really wanted the squad. He didn't really feature all that much. He spent a lot of time injured last year, so we grabbed a little bit of money and sent him on his way. Gaetan Laborde, we sent him away, so Saint Etienne showed up for him for 2.2 million. Frankly, it was a steal. We lost a little bit of money on him, but he just never did anything for us. So he's off the books. Adrian Hunu, again, strong center midfielder. I liked him when he was available, but he just wasn't available all that much, so he didn't really feature a ton. A little disappointing because I think he had a bunch of potential, but he just kept getting hurt. So he went to Saint Etienne for a little over 4 million. Jean-Pascal Fontaine, again, we weren't really going to re-sign him. He didn't feature a whole lot, and he wasn't really doing a bunch for us. So we sent him to Turkey on a transfer. And we rotated out our backup goalkeeper, oddly enough, to the team we're going to open the season against for a few bucks on there. Loanies, we sent a couple of our potential guys out. So Nathan Julian, he's the target man kid, 22. So I'm interested to see what he does. We're inching him up. And then Riyad Habas. Claude Delena, we moved him on again. He wasn't really going to play for us, so it just wasn't worth my time and energy to keep him on the books. He wanted to stay. I didn't care. We sent him on his way. Alex Mane is our defensive midfielder, so we have him out developing. Ozier, I was a little disappointed with what happened when we brought him back, so I'm hoping playing in France now is going to help him, so we'll see what he does. We send Jean-Philippe Crasso, a youngster, to a Belgian outlet. Hugo Demery, Miguel Alfarella, they're youngsters. Again, I want to see what they do. Simon Contrell is just a guy that I probably screwed up and signed that I probably shouldn't have signed to a longer-term deal in my first season. He's out just doing his loan thing. Alaman Magori is playing in Turkey. He's got a ton of potential. I want to see him break out and score a little bit more before we bring him home. And then 2 more youngsters out on loan. So who came in? So from relegated Toulouse, we find Jesse Pye. Some midfield strength. Again, a lot of consistency. I've kind of been watching him for a while. Generally speaking, just consistent. That's about the best I can do. We're running in sort of, this sort of ball box-to-box type level. Not the greatest finisher in the world, but again, a lot of strength, a lot of good decision making. He can move around. He's got great work rate, so I'm pleased with him. We got him relatively cheap because of relegation, so we got him for about half of what he was worth. Young French under 20 striker, so big target man. He's got a bunch of potential. We found him from Nîmes Olympique. My scouts have been watching him for a while. He's a French international, at least a U20 international. So I was thrilled to kind of snap him up and throw him in the mix. Jordan Ikoko is the right back that we have purchased to replace Esam. Bradley Danger, we're going to move on. I have another guy who's going to rotate in there until Ozair sort of develops. Bradley um, just didn't turn in anything, and he is Jordan is a former Le Havre product. He went to a rival and then to Guingamp, and then we pulled him back in again. He can run for days. Good crossing, the stuff that I like in a right back. So we'd watched it. We'd watched him a ton. We actually made this move during the close of the season last year. So he's most of my moves end up falling in that space. I spend most of the fall scouting for anything I'm going to do in the winter transfer window, and then I spend most of the winter until like April, May scouting for what I'm going to do in the summer transfer window. And very rarely do I do any sort of fluky moves beyond that in there. Given that I'm really only scouting France, it's not that big a deal. I have a ton of scouts. I just send them and watch just about everybody who's worth watching play. A lot of the French international team, so I get a huge amount of knowledge about players that I want to get. But I'm really, really only looking at an incredibly narrow window, which is why I can do that. I wouldn't recommend doing it if you're willing to sign anybody from all over the world. You got to be a little more flexible and fluid than what I am, and you're going to get less perfect knowledge that you're going to have to make decisions on. I get damn near perfect knowledge to make decisions on. Like I said, I'm not looking at all that big a region, and I have a ton of scouts, so it's not that hard to send a guy to watch people specifically for 2 or 3 months at a clip. It's just not that hard for me. So this is Thomas Didion. He is another French U21. He is a goalkeeper. I actually like him slightly better than our goalkeeper last year. So Rifi had a good term, but I actually like this guy slightly better in that, and he's a little younger. So he's got some room to improve. Comparison-wise, he's a little bit better, so I feel good that I've got 2 stacked goalkeepers. Vincent Manceau, he's a little older than I normally go with, but I wanted somebody to sort of really back up Vincent Lacal or Victor Lacal much better than we had last year. So Vincent is a stronger ball-winning midfielder to back up. Again, he was set to be he was down being relegated with Angers, so it kicked off a relegation clause. So we got him for about half of what he was worth. Gaetan Corte, we got him out of AJ Auxerre. I actually have him sitting as a shadow striker. I actually like him a little better in the shadow striker role. Again, a little older than I normally would have liked, but given how tight last year ran in, I thought a little better experience was probably not the worst thing that ever happened. And given that he's a little older, I'd rather have him sitting in the shadow striker role than running around like a maniac up front. Jan Mabella, a young 22-year-old striker. Again, we sucked him up out of League Two. This was a bit of a gamble. I think he's going to play relatively well. He is injured at the moment, I think. Oh no, he's actually back to fully fit. So I'm interested to see what he does in there, but I think he will turn good. This guy, 20 years old, Jalil Anjolas. This was a bit of a development project. I see more of his potential. So he's going to end up down in the reserves. Norman Piretti, again, this was a rotating, kind of a rotating guy to provide some cover and backup for what's going on in the squad. Florian, this is another development project, so he's going to end up down in the reserves. A Lyon product. I liked sort of physically what I saw. I liked some of what he's got going on. I think he'll develop a bit, as well as Jan Kitala, again, another development project in the youth ranks. Maxime Lichot, again, another development product. We're going to punt, we're going to take a gamble a little bit on him, just because I think the potential abilities have something to say. So it's worth looking at. And then Thierry Ambrose is somebody I had followed for quite a while. Man City played hardball. They didn't really want to let him go last year. They loaned him out. I'd like to see what he does. I'm happy to have him here. He's again a really high potential guy. I love what I see in terms of the finishing, the composure. He's got freakish speed, good off the ball, good teamwork, vision, not a bad work rate, good flair. So stuff that I like to see for a striker. So I really do want to see what he does. He's an AJ Auxerre product. He got sent to Man City pretty quickly. So we will see what he does. But I am excited to have brought him into the squad. So that's what we got going on in terms of the ins and outs. Tactically, we've shuffled around a little bit. So we've moved to a 4-4-2 diamond and sort of the same. We have a 4-4-2 in the works as well if we want to try something different, but principally, wow, that got all messed up. Wow, there we go. But principally, the 4-4-2 diamond is what I think we'd like to play. Musa Niakate is the one who's going to be out. He broke his ankle in preseason, so Theo Pellinard has been playing. It's not so bad to get some experience on there. And then we have Diallo and Mendy in the back. Baptiste has actually been quite terrible in the run-in, so I do like him. I back him. He's got a little bit more potential. I do back him to play well, but he sure has hit a bum shot. He's had some trouble in competitive matches, and he didn't play great in the preseason. So, pardon me. So we're going to put him on the bench for a while and let Mendy and Diallo solidify, and then Ikoko in there. Menso and Victor Lacal will rotate around in the defensive midfield. I've got Enzo Real, Jordan Pai, and Brahim Konate in the midfield who are going to work around. Christian Bruls and Corte are going to be in this spot. I want to get rid of Mana Dembele in there, but Ambrose, Mabella, and Thuram. Yeah, I thought he was injured. Marcus Thuram are going to probably be the guys that end up, rotating around in the striker position. So we have a handful of options. I think we've improved our depth. And then Didion is going to be in net, and Mandanda will be our cup guy. So I think we do have a pretty good. I think we do have a pretty good crowd in here. I think we've got a good formation. It's a little more solid, a little more narrow. So we'll see what happens. Schedule-wise, how did things work out? So we went to second tier Dusseldorf and drew out of the gate 0-0. We took a tour of Germany and tried to play a handful of Bundesliga sides just to kind of see where we were at and calibrate ourselves. So the Dusseldorf against a second tier side wasn't the greatest result in the world, but new squad, lots of new people early on in the preseason, so okay. We went and played Borussia Dortmund at the Signal Iduna Park. Götze, Royce, and Aubameyang tore us up, but that's not entirely unexpected. So, just as a benchmark against one of the best teams in Europe, and we kind of failed miserably, but that's not entirely unexpected. It was worth the money to go and get our rear ends handed to us, but, kind of tough. That's what I thought. So then we played Hanover. Much better result. We finally put some goals in there. We had some better flow. The game was working a little bit better. We were more solid. I think our 4-4-2 diamond ran up against their narrow 4-3-3 much better. I think we played really well. Took it to them. I was really happy with that. Again, another Champions League team. We played Borussia Mönchengladbach. As you can see, we went ahead on an own goal. They only pulled it out late. We played this match right on top of the Hanover match, so we were tired. So I'm not that worried that we tailed off. During the season, there'd be more rotation and things like that. I was just trying to build fitness and play with who I kind of want in the starting 11. So I'm not terribly concerned that we tailed off, especially against a Champions League team. That's not that big a deal to me. I think we played relatively well there. We then played Paris FC in a little bit of a disappointment coming back to France at home. We drew their third tier. Yeah, third tier. So disappointed we drew 1-1. Again, we were stacking some games on top of each other. We had a bunch of reserve games, so I had a lot of people playing, just building fitness. Disappointed. Nîmes Olympique, we played them in a bit of a 3-2 thriller. We beat the Gators. This was closer than it should have been. Again, I think they're League 2. So this was closer than it should have been. We played CA Bastia, again, another League 2 side. This one was much more comfortable than the 2-0 scoreline. Says as we scored out of the gate and pretty much controlled the whole mess all the way to the end, and then we popped one in late. But we were very much so in control. I was happy with how we played that. We then played Mainz. Their young striker, Alex Topomuller, dropped 2 on us. But we managed to bang 4 in, including a late one, just for added measure. But I'm happy that we went and played at home against a tough team. I mean, Mainz are a tough team. And then we closed out the preseason in a 2-1 loss against Freiburg in a bit of a disaster. So we were down to one man. It took till the end for them to beat us. So pretty solid overall. So how does this season look? So we open up against promoted Chamois Nortois. We got a bit of an interesting early run. We see Marseille and Lyon pretty quickly. We see Monaco and Saint Etienne pretty fast. Nice pretty quickly. Then things settle out a little bit. We see PSG in December. Bordeaux will probably be a little more resurgent. The run in doesn't look bad. We closed the season at Lyon, which is going to be tough. We see PSG late in the deal. Montpellier, Red Star promoted team, Stade Rennais. Lorient in there, Nantes, Lille, Bastia, Nantes-Lorraine, a promoted team. Brestois, somebody who hung out with us. Nice, we don't have a terrible run in, but we do have some opportunity for some hiccups in there if we're not careful. So we will jump out and play. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll come back for Saint Etienne. This would be an interesting one. We've transferred a few fellas to this club, so I'd be curious to see how they turn out and how they work. Hopefully terribly. So we will see how they go. But until then, guys, that is the preview. So we will see what happens this season. In terms of goals and objectives for the season, from a transfer summary perspective, we spent like 11. You saw there. We spent 19. A net of about 12 million. We spent 19 out and got 7 in. But PSG spent 240 million. They've moved Martial for 108 million in. They also picked up Antoine Griezmann and Sergio Aguero, as well as a couple other players to into it. So we're not in the top echelon in the league yet. Lyon has spent pretty crazy, as well as Monaco. So we are not in that stratosphere. So the Champions League spaces are most likely already occupied by the super clubs in France, which does open up this potential problem that we have is we just don't have the capital to do that kind of thing. We're not in that same league. We're not in the same stratosphere as those guys. We don't have the cash reserves. The good news is we can sneak our way into them, but we're going to have to kind of do it in the back door. So what I mean is the Coupe de la Liga and the Coupe de France are going to be critical competitions for us. They both come with Europa League positions. So like Lille snuck in this year when Lyon won the Coupe de France, but was already in a Champions League slot. So that's what we're going to need to do. We are going to need to go out and try and win one of those cup competitions in an effort to snag a European place, and then we're going to have to go and perform in Europe, because that's the only way we're going to start raising the cash. We need to start rising in League One and really going after those big guys. Now, it's going to be a little tough to do it on homegrown French talent, but we'll work that problem out. Secondly, the first thing that we need to do is start bringing huge chunks of money in the front door. So we'll start there. So that's the plan, that's the mission, and this is the squad that we've got. So let me know what you think. I'm curious. Hopefully you guys like this one. Drop a like on the video if you do. And I will see you guys in the first episode for Saint Etienne. So until then, I'll see you soon. Bye now.